Hello, everyone, and welcome back after the break. So our next session is entitled Unlocking Cost and Time Savings, Making Your Shipyard a Technical Leader, presented by David Males, who's the Director for Business Development at SSI. So without further ado, over to you, David.
Great. Thanks, Jake. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We always have to remember that it's a global audience that we're dealing with here in this event. So as I said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Briefly, thanks to Jonathan and his entire team for bringing this event together for another year. You know, as the years go on, it grows in popularity and value. Just happy to be a part of it. So thank you to everyone who's here today to listen in on some points that we think you might find helpful as you consider, your world and your environment. And the topic says unlocking cost and time savings, how to make your shipyard a technical leader. Now that's a pretty deep and wide subject. We're going to touch on a couple of key areas of that. We're going to talk about the role that technology plays in terms of, gaining efficiencies. And we're also going to talk about culture and the impact that culture has. We're all familiar with that kind of triangle of people, processes, and technology. Many of us put process at the top, which I believe is correct, because process enables people and technology is an enabler of both. So we're going to touch on mostly technology and people today from the perspective of culture. So how can advancements in technology and tools increase what we call project velocity, the ability to execute projects faster and on time and on budget? We'll talk a little bit about that. What does organizational culture that prioritizes innovation and technical skills development and knowledge, what's the impact to the bottom line of that? And lastly, we'll look at one example of a shipyard that leveraged technology to not only achieve, operational excellence, but also had a deep cultural impact. One of the things that I read several years ago was an article by an MIT Sloan professor, and the title of the paper was actually very surprising. It said, "Your company doesn't need a digital transformation." And of course, titles always grab headlines, or headlines always grab attention. The bottom line, the intent of that article was to say that, look, if your only focus on digital transformation is around technology, you're missing a tremendous opportunity, because when you look at technology and digital transformation, the key thing and the key way to look at it is it's workforce transformation, right? We all talk about change. Everybody says they like change, just don't try and change me. But once people understand their role in that change and that it really is about workforce transformation, it's not putting their jobs at risk, then we tend to get a much greater buy-in from our shipyard constituents. So, all right, without further ado, I'm going to move along here and hopefully my presentation follows. Okay. So a little bit about myself. You heard Jake introduce me. I am the Director of Business Development at SSI. In my career, I've had a variety of different roles in the high technology industry, both in terms of manufacturing, architecture, engineering. And in my role at SSI, I work with our global network of resellers to assist them in their work, in their geographies, to achieve their outcomes. And across the globe today, we're seeing an increased focus on enterprise applications that really bring shipyard efficiency. So that's part of what I get to do. All right, so a little bit about SSI. What do we do? So when you look at SSI at a glance, I'm just going to make sure I have my notes in the right order here. Pardon me. So when you think of SSI, we are a partner that brings together shipbuilding solutions. We have the technology expertise to keep up with new trends in technology and also work with partners. Partners are a key part of our ecosystem and the value that we bring to our clients. And one of the most important things, everybody likes to say that, the true value of their company is in their people. And I absolutely believe that. One of the benefits that our customers and prospects realize from SSI is that across the board, across our entire employees, and I think we're over 100 now, we have deep, extensive experience in shipbuilding, not just working with shipbuilding software, but working with shipbuilders and, of course, the entire ecosystem of designers as well. We are the only vendor of what we call shipbuilding-specific solutions. It's all we do. It's all we've ever done. We've been in business for over 30 years. And the differentiator there is that when you're dealing with a company like SSI, whose only business is the business of shipbuilding, then you have the benefit of dealing with a group that's all they do. They know your business. They've walked a mile in your shoes, and that's a key differentiator that we like to bring to the market. So as a company, as I said, we've been in business for over 30 years. Our software is used globally by over 500 shipbuilders. About 7,000, that number, increases on a daily basis. And one of the most important things that we like is the fact that in more than 30 universities around the globe, our software is used to teach curriculum. And that is important because we're training the next generation of industry professionals. Okay, as a company, we work across all industry segments. The workboat, naval, commercial, offshore, luxury. In North America, we have a significant presence in the naval industry. Globally, we also have a strong presence in luxury and commercial, as well as workboat. Another piece of information that a lot of folks don't know about SSI is that our software and solutions, our information management solutions, have been used on over 750 naval defense projects. And we all know from experience how challenging those can be. And we've got a great deal of expertise and experience, from having delivered those projects successfully and worked with the builders and the designers. Okay. So to the point of our presentation today, why being what I would call a technical leader unlocks cost savings and times. So number one, innovation provides opportunity for efficiency gains. Two, the role of technology, tools, and process, and what culture plays. We're going to talk about that and how that enables technology leadership. And last, a culture of efficiency will naturally lead to the exploration and evaluation of new technology and tools. If we create that environment, if we make it a welcoming environment, then we know our teams are going to be willing to embrace that and take the risks associated with innovation. The key thing is it's not all or nothing. An incremental approach makes it possible to see a quick return on our investments in technology. And again, that helps smooth the path for that. Okay, so one of the things that we've talked about, a concept, is increasing project velocity. Again, that ability to complete work faster, on time, and on budget. And so when we think about project velocity from a pure definition point of view, it refers to the rate at which a project team can deliver completed work items over a specific period of time. Sounds great, and there is a direct correlation between this and technology leadership. So let's dig into that a little bit. So why is that the case? But first, let's talk about why is it hard to increase project velocity in shipbuilding? Well, these are the three things that we've all experienced. Project change. How many times have we been, a third of the way through a project and owner changes come through? We don't have a good way of managing those changes, so it significantly impacts our schedule. And of course, schedule equals budget. These programs are lengthy. Shipbuilding programs last years, and most shipbuilders are very risk averse. They want to make sure they're working with solutions that are established, that are well understood. They've used them, so they know that they work for them. There's another concept of too much innovation, and we'll talk about that from the perspective of what we call the institutional capacity for change. Okay, so those are some of the things that we know are challenges to increasing shipbuilding project velocity. There's a couple of realities that we at SSI like to say, and that is that digital shipbuilding solutions will only be successful if they take a multi-platform, multi-vendor approach. We've all heard of this concept of platform of platforms, where data is federated, around a single source of truth. We'll talk a little bit about that. There are many reasons for this, including the need for industry solutions in various areas, the need for a quick ROI with incremental implementations, and of course, the challenges of having silos within our shipyard that result in isolated islands of technology. The second reality is significant complexity and constant change will always exist. We'll always need to manage significant levels of complexity in our processes. We need to deal with change at any stage of a project, and there's a high degree of variability. So there are many reasons for this variability. So we talk about long build cycles means materials and equipment changes as we progress. We need to be able to deal with those. We will be in different stages of design and construction for each vessel in a class if it's a multi-hull project. And a small number of ships in a series means we learn as we build. How many of us do first in class multiple times? Okay, so how do we deal with that? What are some of the approaches that we can solve this with? So going forward, we're going to continue to experience these varying market conditions. And when we look at the globe today, we just don't know what's going to happen. Even forecasters today won't forecast anything further out than 400 days because the world has gone from being, complex, to, absolutely complicated. We're going to deal with more connectivity, Industrial 4.0, the Internet of Things. There's this confluence of these converging technologies combined with the pressure to deliver more complex vessels at lower cost and more quickly. How do I build better ships faster? We know this change is only going to accelerate along with the disruptions to our business directly and indirectly. And we can't predict those with any degree of certainty or confidence. So as a business, becoming more resilient and agile is the key, we feel, to not only future-proofing your business and to help make your shipyard a technical leader, but also to give you that resiliency that is so important in your business. We think about resiliency from a supply chain perspective, from an HR perspective, we all know that. But how many people take the time to really stop and think about resiliency within your IT ecosystem, all part and parcel of becoming a technology leader? To do this, we believe you're going to want to consider shipbuilding-specific technology solutions that eliminate the gaps from generic solutions and that add unnecessary risk and resource loads to your business. You're shipbuilders, you're not software developers. And this, impairs your ability to innovate and realize rapid ROI from your investments in these technologies. Okay, so how do we look at that? What are some of the ways we can tackle that? So if we think about a shipbuilding specific implementation, how does that address our need to increase project velocity? Well, a shipbuilding specific implementation brings a shipbuilding specific data model. Why is that important? Well, one of the key important differences is that it does bring immediate and incremental results. We'll talk about that a little bit more, the load that, the resource load that it puts on your business. But broadly speaking, we're talking about the pitfalls, that all point toward the needs, to have a framework to capture this digital thread of shipbuilding from requirements through design, through construction. We need to capture that. But when we do that, we have to consider three things. One, interoperability across all enterprise applications. Two, it should be tightly integrated with engineering so that it can effectively track and manage this constant change. We think of that as configuration management, or more importantly, change management. And third, this framework should freely consume information from other systems, as well as distribute information to other systems, both internally and externally to our supply chain. Everybody wants information, but not everybody's willing to give information. So a framework that supports that is very, very important. So today, more and more shipbuilders and even class societies today are seeing PLM as the foundation, for that digital thread of shipbuilding. It positions them for technology leadership, and we know that leads to much sought after efficiencies. Okay, next. But we don't have to do this all at once. I mean, if any of you have been involved in PLM implementations, you know the challenges associated with that. So adopting PLM and working with a partner who understands that and has a way to deal with that certainly gives you that opportunity to increase project velocity and move towards technology leadership. So this solution, one that is incrementally implemented, delivers shipbuilding specific functionality out of the box that only requires configuration of your unique shipyard standards, as a way to look at it. And as I said, is implemented incrementally. It's a clear path forward to unlocking efficiency gains, technology leadership, and increasing project velocity because it delivers that rapid ROI. Okay, so we look at those gaps, and so we look at our PLM as an example of that. It's a vertical solution, sits on top of Aris Innovator. Aris we chose for many reasons. It's a low-code, high-performance platform. It builds the foundation for shipbuilding with general concepts, industry best practices, workflows, data relationships, and visualization. The key here for those who are looking for that technology leadership and are looking for velocity within their projects is it's implemented within months, right? Not years, that is, somewhat associated with other larger solutions. Because it comes with a data model out of the box, it's already talking your language. It understands the relationships between all the data elements in your digital thread. And it is configured very, very, very quickly by tailoring it to your specific shipyard needs or standards. We eliminate the requirement to spend time implementing the fundamental concepts of PLM specific to shipbuilding. So that's a really good example there. Pardon me. So implementing enterprise scale applications like PLM, it does require a carefully implemented plan. We're not here to talk about that this morning. We've got several successful implementations, and for our customers and prospects, that's a really good learning opportunity. So there's some of the things we've talked about in terms of technology. We'll get back to that. But the other piece of that triangle that we talked about is shipyard culture. It's quite often the elephant in the room. We talked earlier about change. Everybody likes change, just don't try and change me. So what are the impacts of culture on our ability to innovate, to become technological leaders? Is this natural resistance to change. We all understand that, we all have it. We can look at it from the perspective of, when I'm asked to change, I move out of my comfort zone. And when I move out of my comfort zone, I start to feel less confident about what I do and my ability to deliver value in whatever role that I have. Obvious fear of failure. Starting an enterprise implementation such as PLM or ERP, it has an impact across the organization. And there's a natural reluctance to that because we hear more often about the failures than we necessarily hear about the wins. And last but not least is inadequate collaboration. I like to think of collaboration as very different than communication. Communication is we talk, we move information back and forth. It's what we do with that communication together that brings the real value. One of the ways we talk about that is, when you're speaking to one department, you ask them, who are your customers and who is your customer? So how do you deal with that? So how often are you talking with them? So collaboration is a really key part of that, and it has to be cross-functional. How do we now foster a culture of innovation? If we recognize culture as an important part of our success, not only in digital transformation, but becoming a technology leader, accessing and achieving those efficiencies we need as a shipyard, how do we do that? Well, one of the first things is we have to remove the silos and enable better communication and collaboration with our departments, and it has to be in context. Communicating, sharing, coordinating, or exchanging information between individual units could be significantly improved, should be significantly improved. There's many different ways to do that. We're not going to get into that today. The next piece is this whole idea of extending the comfort zone, meaning how do we bring people into the fold so that they feel comfortable with this change? At the beginning of the presentation, we talked about that article from MIT Sloan. It actually referred to a shipyard in the US who was trying to introduce the use of virtual reality down on the shop floor. Everybody loved the technology. We're all familiar with it. It worked fine. Nobody could figure out why it wasn't being accepted and adopted, why it wasn't achieving. And the idea was that they had forgotten to take into account that by introducing this change to the shop floor, it was pushing everybody out of their comfort zone. So we had to do that. So we need to minimize the risk and have an agile approach to that. Okay, I see Jake has appeared. So that's the 19-minute mark, right? So a couple of key things here for technology leadership. We're going to give you a couple of examples here, and I'll move through these fairly quickly. I did mention to Jake at the beginning of this is that in addition to this presentation, we're also going to provide the organizers with the paper that this presentation is derived from. So we'll make that available to Jonathan and his team, and it'll be part of the attendee handouts that are accessible to you. So one example here is our good friends at Austal. They took an approach with a partner. This partner is referred to as pardon me, what is their name? Oh no, first of all, sorry, my bad. Austal, this is just a quote from Richard Lilly, who is their Director of Innovation or Head of Business Transformation. One of the keys for him in terms of successful business and digital transformation is, of course, working with partners. So just a real quick quote here. We have SMEs throughout the business who are embedded in our transformation project. We make sure their voice has really been heard in areas where we're asking them to change. So that really speaks to that issue of bringing everyone into the comfort zone. They identified 3 steps. Working with one operational data set was important, starting with a reduced scope, so managing that change incrementally, and then of course working with a partner that understood both Austal from a business perspective and shipbuilding. So there's one example of technology leadership. And then the last one we'll talk about is very quickly through an NSRP project. Some of you are familiar with NSRP in the US. They fund projects throughout industry that bring innovation to US shipyards. This was a project where they were evaluating the business benefits of reality capture using the dot product laser scanner, handheld laser scanner, to inspect incoming equipment to ensure that it is in fact what was designed, the ship was designed for, and whether it would fit. So by using this technology and using it in an innovative way, they were able to very quickly validate that the equipment that was received is in fact the equipment that was ordered. More importantly, it is the equipment that will fit within the space that it was designed for. So there's an example of not only bringing in new technology, but one of the things it did from a cultural point of view, it opened up everyone's eyes on the shop floor to how this can dramatically reduce the challenges faced with inaccurate equipment coming in. So that's an example that we've got more information on that in the paper that I'll share with you. So the process there was validation through scanning, load the 3D model in the point cloud, align the model to the point cloud, map the differences and validate, initiate a change, and then create a revision in the 3D model. So that's basically the high-level process. So in closing, and I had to wrap up very quickly here, the 3 takeaways that we'd like to leave you with are that technology is making it easier to incrementally unlock the benefits of innovation, and particularly technology is implemented the correct way, and we believe that's incrementally in an agile fashion. Prioritizing collaboration, across the enterprise within the departments will also help that, because it really brings everybody to the table to share a common vision. And last but not least, and this is a bit of a practical, examine where your existing data and your relationships and workflows are not meeting your requirements of trying to accelerate your project velocity. Okay, that's it. That's a lot of information. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. And you're right, you covered a huge amount of content in that session. Loads of really interesting stuff. I'm really interested to see that paper afterwards, so please do send that through. I think we've got time for one question. And a lot of the topics that you were talking about really ring true, especially in my role around innovation and research. So how do you, the key thing as part of your innovation culture is about making sure that business leaders are involved in that process. If you were to kind of pitch to a board of directors or business executives, how would you make a really clear argument of it, why it's important to invest in this innovative technology today rather than kicking the can down the road for tomorrow?
Great question, Jake. And we could certainly spend a great deal of time on that. One of the things I've learned from addressing that question, either in the fashion that you've posed it or being challenged, by those who now have to go and sell this, to the board of directors, we take a slightly different approach. Oftentimes, and we even had it in this presentation, we focus on the return on investment. What's the ROI? Everybody wants to see that, tangible dollars to the bottom line ROI. Where we found we've gotten the attention is what's the COI, what we call cost of inaction. So by focusing on the cost to the organization for not taking action, for not adopting an innovative culture that translates to a specific technology, what is the actual cost to the organization? Not just in dollars and cents, but lagging in competitiveness, and all sorts of things. A recent study was carried out that showed and this was the US, so I can't speak globally, that in the small to mid-tier shipbuilding segment versus, the large shipbuilders, as Dennis always says, the color of their money is a little bit differently. The gap in adoption of innovation is huge between the small to medium shipyards and the larger shipyards. So from an SSI perspective and from my own career experiences, I really approach it from the cost of inaction. And that generally gets the attention of folks who, they don't use the technology. So their understanding of the business benefits of the technology, the departmental benefits, it's not tangible to them because they're not the ones using it. They understand profitability, things like that. So cost of inaction, we find, has always been a great dialogue.
Great. Thank you very much. And thanks again for your time. Looking forward to that paper.
You're very welcome, Jake. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye.